I want to do the impossible. I want to create Sadaharu Oh and OOTP, and I want it to be fun. Why is this impossible? Well, as some of us remember, OOTP had a falling out with the NPB over rights issues a little while ago. In fact, you still can't say NPB or Japan on the official OOTP forums, which is hilarious. Now, this means that you can't use any real Japanese teams or players in the game. Well, sort of, but we'll get to that in a second. Now, before I get attacked by the peanut gallery, let me make a few things clear. Yes, I know that there is a difference in the quality of play between the United States and Japan. Yes, I am aware that there are Major League equivalency ratings that exist. Yes, I know about Jim Albright's website. Thank you for those of you who keep telling me about it in the comments. In fact, I consider it the best website on the subject, even after all these years. I remember going there when I was a freshman in high school, and I still use it all the time. Now, just in case you don't know, Oh Sadaharu, or Wang Zhenji if you're a Chinese speaker, is indisputably the greatest player in Japanese baseball history. I could watch highlights of him all day. In fact, I almost did. I had to force myself to stop collecting them to make this video. He's also extremely controversial in the United States. Now, the controversy isn't whether he actually hit those home runs. The controversy revolves around whether Japanese ballparks were too small and whether Japanese pitchers were too poor. There's actually some irony in this argument. American ballparks have shrunk considerably since the 1960s and 70s. Babe Ruth and Mickey Mantle hit at Yankee Stadium with an extremely short right field porch, and it was also pretty short down the line and left. Pitching in the United States has also been diluted, mostly because of expansion and because teams nowadays are forced to carry so many pitchers on their squads. which causes many of us to grumble. And of course, the biggest irony of all is that the biggest Japanese stars actually tend to be pitchers, and that was the case during the 60s and 70s as well. Murakami Masanori was the first Japanese player to play in the United States way back in 1964. And he was actually really good in 1965 before he returned to Japan. Go look him up. Anyway, let's move on to the point. Can we make O Sadaharu an OOTP 25? Now the answer, oddly enough, is that we can. However, we have to fix him. Now, 1.5 stars isn't really what we're expecting from the man who was arguably the greatest player in the history of Japanese baseball. So let's take a look at the editor to see what's going on. And you can see the problem right here. His current ratings are pretty poor, and his potential ratings are even worse. Now, I know that OOTP has had an issue for a long time with treating Negro League stars and other players as less than spectacular, as if they played single-A ball their entire careers. However, this projection is simply pathetic. So I tested it out again using O's 1970 season, which was probably the end part of his peak. And as you can see, his projection is still awful. I don't think there's anybody who would expect that he would only hit 8 home runs per season at the major league level, nor do I think that there's any argument that justifies such a projection. Of course, if you can think of one, by all means, let me know in the comments. Now, we're going to have to adjust him. Now, fortunately, OOTP actually makes that sort of easy for us. You see that resulting stats screen? We can input the stats we want there and then automatically adjust his potential ratings to reflect those stats. Now, I don't mind him hitting like 120 or whatever as a 19-year-old rookie. However, I want to make sure that he has some potential to grow into. Well, we've got 2 ways to do this. First, we're going to look at a 162-game projection based on Jim Albright's projection stats. Now, you can visit his website at baseballguru.com. Like I said, it's been around since I've been in high school, and I still use it all the time. So this is a pretty realistic version of what we'd expect from O. So 30 home runs is a little bit lower than I'd like, but it passes. And now we're going to look at a raw translation of his real-life stats into 162 games without doing any adjustment. Now once we do this, O looks like a star, like a can't-miss Hall of Fame player. So in this project, I want to have fun. I'm going to go with the higher projection. I want him to be a star. But what do you think? Is there something I missed? And is there something you would do differently?